Brabham a third and Williams a fine fourth with the now unfashionable 3-litre engine. Just 2 points ahead of McLaren, with Tyrrell a long way back in sixth. And this is the man who could upset the apple cart today, Elio De Angelis, who is in pole position for today's European Grand Prix. He's only won one Grand Prix, today could be his second. So there is Elio De Angelis, or at least a Tony Jardine expression of him, and Riccardo Patrese, the man who is in second position on the pole here today, driving his Brabham and rumoured to be out of the Brabham team next year. So Riccardo Patrese, the Italian, and there is Riccardo Patrese, the man who won his first Grand Prix, in fact his only Grand Prix at Monte Carlo, then with a DFV engine, today with a BMW turbo engine. 4 points only in the championship. And Nigel Mansell, third on the grid here today. His position in the team for JPS Lotus is rumoured to be not on for 84, but today he could put everything right with a brilliant drive, which we expect from him. Just 6 points in the championship. Nelson Piquet, probably the fastest driver of them all. He won the last Grand Prix at Italy, world champion of 1981, and Piquet in third position in this year's championship, which he could still win. 46 points to Prost's 51. And that is the Ferrari, the turbocharged V6 Ferrari of René Arnoux, who with 3 wins and 2 second places in the last 5 races has fought his way up to second place in the championship with 49 points, 2 behind his rival Prost. Patrick Tambay, they call him Prince Charming, the most amiable and in many ways likeable Grand Prix driver of them all. The man who rejected Grand Prix in 1982 but came back to drive for Ferrari after his great friend Gilles Villeneuve was killed. 40 points and 4th place in the championship. Eddie Cheever, he is American. He has spent most of his life in Italy. He is driving for his 4th team in 4 years, Renault, this year. And Cheever is in 7th place in the championship. He has yet to win a Grand Prix. He has 21 points, and he is well up on the starting grid here at Bрэnds-Hэтch today. If you like, but with 4 wins and 51 points, he is leading the championship by a tenuous 2 points, and that lead could very easily be totally obliterated today. Prost is the man who has got the greatest tension of all here at Bрэnds-Hэтch today. Manfred Winkelhock, the German Charger, the gutsiest driver in many ways of them all, driving his turbocharged ATS, has actually yet to score a World Championship point because of unreliability. But if ever there was a trier, it's Manfred Winkelhock, and he is in 9th position on the grid today. 150 Grand Prix it will be today for John Watson. The man who has driven for several Grand Prix teams, has won 5 Grand Prix in his career, and today is driving only his 2nd race in the Tag Turbo McLaren car. 22 points for John Watson and 6th in the World Championship. But could today be Derek Warwick's Grand Prix, his first ever? He scored points in the last 2, and they were the first 2 he had scored points in. Let us not forget that in the British Grand Prix here at Brands last year, he fought his way up to 2nd place. No points in the 10 points in the championship, and Warwick could score more today. And there, talking to one of the truly great drivers of the past on the right, Sterling Moss, on the left, Niki Lauda, double world champion. Niki And that is the reigning world champion from Finland, the adopted Englishman, if you like, Keke Rosberg, who lives in Cookham Dean. This is his 65th Grand Prix and his last in a normally aspirated engined car, because at Kyalami he will be driving the new Williams Honda car with the turbocharged engine. So, who is going to win the World Championship of 1983?
Well, that's the 64,000 question, of course, but I think PK will manage it.
Well, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would probably put my money on Nelson.
I must say I fancy Nelson Piquet right now. I think that the second half of the Brabham season has become stronger and stronger and stronger, and I think that's the way it's going.
I favour, I think, Nelson Piquet. He's very laid back. I think he's probably going to sleep better than most people, and it matters to him, but I don't think it's all important.
I favour Nelson myself, because I think he's won it before. He knows how to do it. I think he's probably got the best team and car and engine combination today.
I'd like to see Piquet win. Prost should. Arnoux probably will.
And the general consensus of opinion then seems to be from the experts, and they should know, this man, Nelson Piquet, number 5 in his Brabham BMW, and there are the odds: 3-1 on Piquet, 4-1 on Prost, right down to 16-1 on John Watson. And earlier on you could get much better odds, but even 3-1 is good for Nelson Piquet. Right, well, now let us have a look at the grid. There in pole position, his first ever, and the P in the brackets means P for Pirelli. Elio De Angelis. Tyres are so important, we've indicated which the drivers will be using. In second position on the grid, Riccardo Patrese using Michelin. Third in the second JPS Lotus, Mansell with Pirelli tyres. Then in fourth position, Nelson Piquet. Fifth, René Arnoux, the top Goodyear runner. Sixth, Patrick Tambay in his Ferrari. Seventh, Eddie Cheever. Eighth, Alain Prost. Ninth, Manfred Winkelhock. And 10th, and that's a terrific drive, John Watson, who had a lot of trouble in practice getting his engine to run properly. And there they are, getting ready for the warm-up lap. They've been sitting there for some time. The weather conditions are absolutely perfect. The sky is blue and clear, the sun is shining, the track is dry and warm. They've been able to make their tyre decisions about compounds, and Elio De Angelis proudly leads away, and Nigel Mansell comes up from his third grid position to accompany Elio De Angelis proudly round this 2.61 mile circuit here at Bрэnds-Hэтch on the warm-up lap.
Yes, and there go the field on this absolutely beautiful day. Just perfect autumn weather, with a huge turnout to see the World Championship coming to a climax. There goes the field, led by Elio De Angelis off his pole position in the JPS Lotus. Very perfect for JPS as the sponsors of the race. So go round into the tightened up left-hander and out onto the back straight. This is fastest part of the circuit. That's the kink there is absolutely flat out. Formula One cars, you see Patrese weaving away there, warming up their tyres. It always seems to me that one of these days two people are going to weave like a concertina and hit each other. And then into the quickest corner on the circuit, Hawthorns, which is taken something like 150, 160 miles an hour. Very difficult corner, terribly important to get the entry right. Short straight, down to the medium speed right-hander. Bрэnds-Hэтch really is one of the most challenging circuits on the calendar for a driver. It undulates, the corners are different, challenging and quick. Now in the modern cars, quick right-hander there, and then down to the left-handed Sterling's corner, and there goes De Angelis. He'll be slowing down now as they go under the bridge into clearways. He'll slow right down to let the field bunch up so that he doesn't arrive on the grid and have to stop for too long, because of course drivers keep the car in gear, don't want to get the clutch too hot. Of course there's no fan on the racing car, so the water temperature rises continually when it's sitting still, and he'll be pulling him up onto the grid now.
So the man with the responsibility at the start is Derek Ongaro. He is the man who at every Grand Prix changes the lights from red to green, or if there's trouble, from red to yellow. And let us hope that they go straight to green this time, with Elio De Angelis in the first pole position for Lotus since Canada in 1978. Behind him, just to his left, Riccardo Patrese in the Brabham BMW. The dash from the start down to the first right-hander at Paddock Hill Bend. In third position behind Elio De Angelis is Nigel Mansell. So the two JPSs are well up there in first and third positions. You see the fingers of Derek Ongaro, the most responsible man here at Bрэnds-Hэтch at this moment. Go! Patrese sprints through. Mansell is up. PK is into third position. Patrese has got a real flying start. Nigel Mansell is up into third position and challenging his teammate Elio De Angelis as they go up into the right-hander at Druids. And there you see for yourself that the Renaults are starting to come up as well. And as they come down the descent to Graham Hill Bend, it is Riccardo Patrese in the lead. It is Elio De Angelis second, Mansell third, PK fourth, Cheever fifth, and Manfred Winkelhock sixth.
Yes, and Nelson Piquet's had a bit of a moment going into Druids. They had to lock up his brakes, and you see the haze from the turbos, all that heat coming off from the Piquet. A bit of a sandwich there. He's got very much blocked. He's trying to go down the inside, having a look, and it's really important for Piquet to get away and make up places. One of the big problems at Bрэnds-Hэтch is that overtaking is very, very difficult. So this first lap is all important when it's a bit messy for the good drivers to try and make their places, because once the race settles down, it becomes very, very difficult to pass.
Out of the race already, Jean-Pierre Jarier, whose car is parked at the start. And by the way, Riccardo Patrese is using his spare car because he had a misfire in the warm-up and opted to go out in the spare. And look what magnificent use he is making of it, because he's coming through to complete lap one in the lead from Elio De Angelis second. Then there's a gap. It's Mansell third, Piquet fourth, Cheever fifth, Manfred Winkelhock in sixth position. You see them now climbing up to Druids, and they're getting well spread out already. But the good news is, for British enthusiasts, that both the JPS Lotus Renaults are well up. There is Winkelhock being chased by Alain Prost, the two Ferraris, René Arnoux and Patrick Tambay, with the white-helmeted Frenchman René Arnoux in front, and Derek Warwick is tucked in right behind Patrick Tambay as PK is coming up to have a go at third place of Nigel Mansell. Patrese leads, and PK is through into third position. Now, let us not forget that after the Italian Grand Prix, there is not a lot of love lost as Cheever goes through and tries to take Nigel Mansell between Nelson Piquet and Riccardo Patrese. And if Piquet catches Patrese, and Cheever is through, is he? Yes! Cheever cuts across the front of Nigel Mansell.
And this is really hairy stuff. I tell you, these guys are well aware, as I just said, that they've got to make their places early in the race before things have settled down. And Piquet managed to get Nigel Mansell around the outside into Hawthorns, and Cheever really having a huge go there down the inside. Terrific stuff.
Now the gap between Riccardo Patrese in the lead and his teammate Nelson Piquet, who is fourth, is already 4.3 seconds. And Elio De Angelis is giving nothing away to Riccardo Patrese. And I believe that the Pirelli runners, and there is Nigel Mansell and Elio De Angelis, are going to deliberately run a tactical race. They are not totally sure about whether their tyres are going to last the distance, and they are going to pace themselves very carefully indeed. There is Nigel Mansell still ahead of Alain Prost. That is Eddie Cheever, and Prost is coming up to take Mansell, and he goes straight through. So now the order is in the lead. Riccardo Patrese and Arnoux goes through. Something surely must be wrong with Nigel Mansell's car, the way he's slipping down.
Yes, he seems to be going backwards. I don't know whether it's a tyre problem or just not getting enough grip out of his choice of race compound there. But unlikely, because De Angelis is certainly going very nicely up front. But Mansell really seems to be struggling, and they're all gobbling him up.
And Riccardo Patrese and Elio De Angelis are actually pulling away now. It's 5.01 seconds between them and Nelson Piquet. Eddie Cheever in 4th position now has got Piquet in his sights. Prost is in 5th place behind his teammate. René Arnoux is in 6th position. Nigel Mansell 7th. Manfred Winkelhock 8th. And Patrick Tambay, as you look down, there he is, rounding Druids, is in 8th position. So there is Mansell, Winkelhock and Patrick Tambay, number 27. Behind Patrick Tambay, it is Derek Warwick. And behind Derek Warwick, there's a mass of the Marlboro cars, 2 Alfa Romeos, 2 McLarens, virtually together, 4 cars there. And now on lap 4 out of 72, a long way to go. Riccardo Patrese leads. Elio De Angelis is 2nd. Nelson Piquet is 3rd. Eddie Cheever is 4th. Prost is 5th. Arnoux is in 6th position. In 7th place it is Nigel Mansell. 8th is Manfred Winkelhock. And there is Mansell on the dash down to clearways. And all the time, Patrese and De Angelis are pulling away. There is the leader, Riccardo Patrese, wanting to prove, of course, that his win at Monaco, Riccardo Patrese, last year, not this year, was no fluke, because, as I have said, his position in the Brabham team is under challenge. There are all sorts of rumours, but anyway, if Riccardo Patrese could win this vital European Grand Prix, it would make a great deal of difference to his prospects. But second to him there is Elio De Angelis as they go round the 150 mile an hour Hawthorne bend. Patrese, Brabham BMW Turbo. De Angelis, the JPS Lotus with its Renault engine. So it's Italians 1st and 2nd, and in 3rd place Brazilian Nelson Piquet.
Well, I saw a bit of a puff of smoke from Patrese's car then, but again, that's Piquet coming through, so maybe that's just a standard blow-off. Maybe they've overfilled the oil tank a little bit, because that can well happen.
We all know, of course, that Riccardo Patrese, and that's his teammate Piquet that we're looking at the moment, has had terrible luck in Grand Prix this year. Out of the 13 he has driven in, he has only finished in 2. He has failed to finish in 11, and a lot of the troubles were caused by turbos. There's the puff of flame. That doesn't mean there's any trouble. It just means that excess fuel is being burned in the exhaust pipe as he changes down on the overrun. And Elio De Angelis right up now with Riccardo Patrese. There is the 3rd man going round the left-hander at Surtees. The 3rd man, of course, being Nelson Piquet. Here he comes on the 2nd Brabham BMW towards us, Piquet, followed by Cheever in 4th place, followed by Prost in 5th place, the 2 Renaults absolutely together. Then Nigel Mansell well up in 6th position, and round goes the man who's leading the World Championship.
Yes, championship-wise, we have things very well poised. Now, Piquet in 3rd place is making no real impression on the leader, but behind him he's got Alan Prost with Eddie Cheever all bit in between, but being a teammate of Prost, he will undoubtedly get out of the way if required to do so and asked to do so. And behind them, René Arnoux. So we've got the 3 World Championship main protagonists for the championship in line astern, effectively from 3rd down to 6th place.
There's Cheever and Prost absolutely together. The gap between Nelson Piquet and Eddie Cheever, who is in 4th position, Eddie Cheever, is 2.4 seconds. Now, Cheever is definitely number 2 in the Renault team. That was number 1 in the Brabham team, Nelson Piquet. And Cheever will, I'm sure, as James said, move over and let the world champion designate, he hopes, Alain Prost through and up into that 4th position. For 4th position, you get 2 points in the 3 points in the world championship. Cheever looks in his mirrors. He sees Alain Prost behind him, and there you see on the caption René Arnoux in 6th position in the Ferrari. So it's Brabham followed by the JPS of Elio De Angelis, as the race now, with the frenzied opening laps having been finished, is starting to settle down a bit. Settle down by having in the lead, of course, Riccardo Patrese, followed by De Angelis.
Yes, and there are the two runners, and I think that Cheever would be polite and wise to let Prost through pretty soon, because Prost has been definitely quicker than him around the back of the circuit, and I think now would go faster if he got into clear air. So yes, here he comes, and Cheever's wasn't making room then, I don't think.
The gap between the leader, Patrese, and Prost, who is the second of these two cars, is 9.4 seconds. Alain Prost was fastest in the half-hour warm-up session this morning, which was a real change for him, because in practice he was only 8th quickest, right down, and Renaults have never done well at this Bрэnds-Hэтch circuit. They're hoping to break their duck, as it were, here today at Brands by finishing well up, winning ideally, and certainly finishing in the points, and that's Nigel Mansell.
Interesting thing is, watching those two Renaults, it rather looked as if Eddie Cheever has a little bit more power out of his engine. He was seemed to be pulling away as they went out onto the long back straight.
René Arnoux, you saw there, is in 6th position, and here is the battle for 4th.
Yes, he'll be a little bit frustrated, because once they get into the twisty section around the back, he's climbing all over the back of Eddie Cheever's car, and he really would like to get through, particularly as he's got a straight line speed disadvantage. So Cheever, at this stage of the World Championship, in the normal way, it's everybody for himself, but he really should let Prost through to have a go at Nelson Piquet, because they're in striking distance. Prost is having a look, and I think he's made it down the inside. Yes, there goes Prost through, and now he's got a clear run at Nelson Piquet.
The gap being 9.7 seconds. A change then with Alain Prost moving up into 4th position. Riccardo Patrese still leads in his wheel tracks. Elio De Angelis. 3rd is Nelson Piquet. 4th is Eddie Cheever. This is Alain Prost. 5th is Eddie Cheever. 6th is Arnoux. 7th is Mansell. 8th is Winkelhock. 9th is Tombé. 10th Guerrero. 11th De Cesaris. 12th Nicky Lauda. And in 13th place is Lauda's teammate John Watson. And you can see the size of the crowd as 4 cars, look at that stream of cars, absolutely together, led by Nigel Mansell, who is in 7th place. Then Winkelhock in the ATS, 8th. Then behind Winkelhock in 9th position, Tombé. Behind Tombé is De Cesaris, who has got ahead of Derek Warwick. There's Andrea De Cesaris, who's moved up into 10th place ahead of Derek Warwick, and that was the Toleman that you saw in the background. As we look at Manfred Winkelhock, and the gap now between Riccardo Patrese, who is leading the race, of course, still, and the 4th place man, Alain Prost, which was 9.7 seconds on the previous lap, is now 8.8 seconds. So Prost is catching Riccardo Patrese. This is lap 10. It is a 72-lap race, and so far the only retirement that I am aware of is that of the unfortunate Jean-Pierre Jarier, who has gone out of race after race this year. Indeed, he has only finished in 5 races out of the 14 that he's now driven in. And look at this, Mansell, Winkelhock, and Derek Warwick is chasing Patrick Tombé and Andrea De Cesaris, who has already passed him. Derek Warwick not giving up, and he's in front of John Watson, number 7, who is in 12th position.
Interesting shot of Warwick there. Can you see his hand come up and wipe his visor? Because these cars, you see the smoke, but with smoke there's usually a bit of oil. And in the early part of a race like this, when the cars are all bunched, you get quite a lot of oil and general rubbish, but of course the oil attracts dust and it sticks to it over your visor. Some drivers put a tear off on their visor, a little strip of plastic, which they can tear off, put several layers of it. I personally always carried a rag, which I just put down between my legs so I can pick it up at any time and wipe it. Some people use the back of their glove, but visibility can get quite difficult when you've got an oily front.
It could also, of course, mean that De Cesaris' engine is starting to give trouble, which it has done in race after race this year. He's blown turbos and gone out. The Alfa Romeo is notorious for that, and that could account for the oil that, as James pointed out, is settling on Derek Warwick's visor. Now there is Nelson Piquet, 3rd position. Alain Prost is catching him as he is catching the race leader, Patrese. And Patrese has still got Elio De Angelis right with him. This is lap 11 out of 72. That is Nelson Piquet, and the gap between Piquet and Prost, as you see, is 2.3 seconds. Patrese there.
Patrese's in trouble. It looks like he's headed for the pits.
This, of course, is sensational. Riccardo Patrese is slowing down, as he has done so many times this year, and is being taken now by Alain Prost as they go into Paddock Bend. So Patrese on lap 12 of the European Grand Prix looks as though he's about to lose his place to Alain Prost. There is the Italian leading the Frenchman leading the World Championship and going through. No, Patrese won't let him, and that means, of course, that Nelson Piquet is now in the lead. And in third position is Alain Prost. In second position is Riccardo Patrese. So this is now the battle for second place.
Piquet is now leading. I'm very sorry, but we have lost Elio De Angelis. We didn't see what happened to him, but he hasn't come by. And Riccardo Patrese's had trouble, so I can only assume that they must have made contact somewhere around the back of the circuit and or had some sort of a moment, because they are... Patrese has dropped back, which implies that he might have had a spin, because his car appears healthy, and that De Angelis has gone missing. So they either made contact or somebody spun in front of the other one, and the whole pattern of the race has changed, because there is Piquet. Piquet now leads. Piquet leads clearly, but Prost is only a couple of seconds behind him and possibly catching.
6.9 seconds, in fact just under 7 seconds is the gap between the new race leader Nelson Piquet on lap 13 and these battling too. And this, of course, is making things tremendously exciting from the World Championship point of view, because the man who is leading the World Championship, Alain Prost, the second of these two cars, is in third place in the race. The man who is in third position in the World Championship is leading the race. And Piquet is the fastest man on the course, 1 minute 15.4, as you see, the speed of 124.7 miles an hour. Nelson Piquet. That compares with the lap record of 130 miles an hour.
Yes, well, De Angelis is there and running, but he's fallen back a bit, and therefore one can only assume that the two leaders, De Angelis is now in fact running in 6th place, and one can only assume that they had some sort of a coming together or a spin in sympathy and both dropped back. But it appears that both cars are healthy, and so they're very much still in the race.
And to start talking about the World Championship as early in the race as this is maybe dangerous, but let me establish straight away that if Alain Prost in third position, the second of these two cars that you're looking at, wins here today, he will have won the World Championship. Between him and that, there is Elio De Angelis coming into the pits on lap 14, the pole position holder, and he's out of the race. You saw his arms come out of the cockpit. Whatever the problem is, I do not know, but obviously a heartbroken De Angelis is out.
Well, it looks now, there is Riccardo Patrese, he's in front of Alain Prost, and while he's doing that, he appears to be slowing him down a bit, and Nelson Piquet is in fact increasing his lead. I haven't put a watch on it, but visually he's increasing, and that will be very, very frustrating for Prost. There's Piquet, still smoking a bit as he goes round the right-hander there, and there is the gap, and it's definitely a lot bigger. And whether Patrese's car is damaged, because I think he's probably going a bit hurt, and Prost may now be regretting the fact that his engine would appear possibly to be a little bit down on power. We saw the fact that his own teammate, his own number 2, was pulling away from him down the straight. If he does have a power problem with his engine, whilst it won't hurt his lap times on his own very much, it will hurt his speed. And now
the gap is 10, and Prost is through into second position. The gap between himself and Nelson Piquet is 10.45 seconds, or was at the end of the 14th lap in this 72-lap race. So Alain Prost, number 15, in the Renault. You can see now how Patrese was holding him up, because already Prost is pulling away from the Italian in the Brabham BMW, and Prost has already won 4 Grand Prix this year to give him his 51 points, but second place isn't going to be good enough to enable him to win the World Championship here at the Grand Prix of Europe. He's got to finish first, as I said, to get 9 points to add to the 51 that he already has to be absolutely certain of the World Championship here. And there's a long way to go before that happens. You are looking at the new second-place man, Alain Prost, pulling away from the previous race leader, Riccardo Patrese. Eddie Cheever is now starting to catch Riccardo Patrese. Eddie Cheever in 4th position. And René Arnoux must not be forgotten, because the little Frenchman in the Ferrari, as Piquet we look at there, Arnoux has really got his head down and is starting to charge. And I'll give you the gap between Arnoux and the leader. As soon as I see the Frenchman go through, there was Nelson Piquet. Coming towards us now, there is Patrick Tambay on the right with Nigel Mansell. And Mansell is in 7th position. Patrick Tambay is therefore in 8th place. And the race order on lap 60 out of 72. Nelson Piquet leads Alain Prost. In 3rd position, it is Riccardo Patrese. In 4th place, it is Eddie Cheever. In 5th position, it is Arnoux. And in 6th place, it's Nigel Mansell ahead of the 7th place man, Patrick Tambay. 8th is Manfred Winkelhock. In 9th position, it's André de Cesaris. In 10th place, it is Derek Warwick. Cheever there, and Arnoux, 4th and 5th. The Renault of Eddie Cheever on the right. The American driver spent most of his life, as I've said, in Italy, being chased by René Arnoux.
Yes, what Arnoux will be trying to do now is get very close to Eddie Cheever through Paddock Bend, through Druids, through the 2 corners along the bottom straight, and then up to Druids. Now he wants to get very close because he can only attack along the long back straight once he gets there. 2 corners to go, and he's got to be in position. And if he can get close enough, he can then possibly wind up his turbo boost. And you see he's got a little bit of handling trouble around the left-handers, which makes passing very difficult. Although this circuit is predominantly right-handed, it's very, very important at Bрэnds-Hэтch to have your car set up to go through the left hand as well, because if you can't do that, you can't overtake, because it's after that left-hander onto the long straight that really matters. And Arnoux, the 1 corner that he really wanted to be quick, has dropped right back and lost his attacking position.
Patrese, Cheever and Arnoux go through. There's Eddie Cheever rounding the left-hander at Stirling's Bend, on his way down to Clearways to come through and complete his 17th lap. Over the line goes Alain Prost in 2nd position. Now the gap between Prost and Patrese is now 5.6 seconds. The gap between Patrese and Cheever is just over 1 second. And you're looking down now at Riccardo Patrese rounding Druids Hill Bend.
Yes, well, René Arnoux will be hoping that when Cheever catches Riccardo Patrese, he'll hold him up enough to help him get into the attacking position right behind. Arnoux is very close this time, but once again he's dropped back just that little important bit, and I think he's probably not getting enough grip from his right front wheel to get through really quickly there.
We haven't said anything about pit stops yet as we look at Patrese, Cheever and Arnoux. The first pit stop that we are expecting is that of Mauro Baldi in the Alfa Romeo on lap 34, and they're going on until lap 44 when Piquet comes in last. And talking about the pits, Elio De Angelis is there.
I'm with the most disappointed man in the race. Elio, what happened?
The engine's gone.
There was an incident earlier, wasn't there?
Sorry?
There was an incident earlier, though, wasn't there?
Yes, I was me and Riccardo trying to be on. I was trying to get the first place, and I went inside completely. And Riccardo, I should know him better, because in that condition it's impossible to close the door. That's why he spun as well. And then unfortunately he's racing, but at the same time I have to say that my engine would have gone anyway, so I cannot...
Well, a very philosophical Elio De Angelis, first spin, but the engine would have gone anyway. Very sorry, Elio. Back to you, Murray.
a very sporting and obviously slightly bitter Elio De Angelis, who clearly blames Riccardo Patrese for that accident in which they both spun, although De Angelis admits that his engine was on the way out in any case. So a glorious start for the JPS Lotus team, but Nigel Mansell is their representative now. He is in 6th place, and the order is Nelson Piquet leading Alain Prost by 11 seconds. Riccardo Patrese is in 3rd position, some 7 seconds behind Prost. 4th is Eddie Cheever with Arnoux treading on his rear wheels. 6th is Nigel Mansell and 7th is Patrick Tambay. 8th is Winkelhock, 9th is De Cesaris. 10th is Warwick and 11th is Watson. 12th is Lauda. 13th Rosberg, the leading non-turbo car. 14th Mauro Baldi and then Giacomelli. 16th is Sura. 17th is Stefan Johansson. 18th is Alboreto. Then 19th and 20th Sullivan and Guerrero. And an astoundingly good reliability record with so far apparently only Jarier out at De Angelis. And this is Arnoux chasing Cheever, chasing Patrese, who is in 3rd position. And off goes Arnoux, he's spun off, and that, to put it mildly, damaged Arnoux's chances on lap 20 out of 72, and it looks as though with his rear wheel spinning he can't rejoin.
Yes, he's got his tummy stuck on that high curve, and he may well not be able to get back into the race, because technically, and hang on, here we go, and René Arnoux has only himself to blame. He lost control of his own accord apparently, and he's got going again, so he's back on the track. But if he received outside assistance, he faces potential disqualification for getting a push.
He's in 20th position now, though. He's behind Danny Sullivan in the Benetton Tyrrell. So Arnoux, having got the underbelly of the Ferrari, riding on the high curb and with his rear wheels lifted off the ground, lost some 16 places. He's now just ahead of Roberto Guerrero, and he's going to have to fight his way up all through the field. But it is really blown, in my opinion. René Arnoux' chances of fighting his way through to the front, and there is the front runner on lap 21 out of 72, Nelson Piquet. He won in Italy, that was the last race. He won in Brazil, that was the first race of the year, with 3 second places, a third and 2 fourths, 46 points. If he gets 9 in this race, then that lifts him up to 55 and keeps him well in the World Championship contention, provided Alain Prost stays where he is, which is in 2nd place. Nelson Piquet from Brazil, the man whose temperament has changed so much in 12 months. Last year he was inclined to get a bit rattled on occasions. This year he is totally mature, has completely settled down, is philosophical in defeat, and that doesn't happen very often because he has had an astoundingly good season. Most of the times when Nelson Piquet have gone out this year have been through absolutely no fault of his own. Stefan Johansson there in the Honda, the Spirit Honda, is in 16th position, chased by Alboreto, Sullivan and Arnoux. Coming into clearways, you're looking at Johansson.
Yes, absolutely right, Murray. Just to endorse what you were saying about Nelson Piquet, the nice thing is that although one's heart goes out to René Arnoux, but the 2 best men are now, unless Arnoux can claw his way back into the points, are fighting out the championship, because Alain Prost and Nelson Piquet are undoubtedly the 2 outstanding drivers in Grand Prix racing at the moment, and it's only fitting and correct that they should be battling out for the championship.
That is undeniable, but there is a third, and that's René Arnoux, who's got ahead of Danny Sullivan, who is now chasing Michele Alboreto.
Yes, it's well conceivable that Arnoux could fight his way back into the points with a few retirements and his car running well for the rest of the race, and which could keep him in touch. I don't think it can do a lot more than that, because the back end of the points, as long, of course, as Piquet and Prost score, would keep him alive, but not very.
Johansson, Alboreto, Arnoux and Danny Sullivan. Johansson is in 16th place. Arnoux fighting his way up through the field, but it is difficult to pass at Bрэnds-Hэтch. Nelson Piquet still fastest, 1:15.06 is faster than his previous fastest lap, a speed of 125.3 miles an hour. That's some 5 miles an hour than the all-time lap record as we look at René Arnoux. But that all-time lap record, which was put up by Didier Pironi, was put up in a skirted Ligier car. And now René Arnoux is up into 17th place, having disposed of Alboreto, as we look at Patrese, Cheever and Nigel Mansell up there with Eddie Cheever. So, Nigel Mansell is now in 5th place, Cheever is 4th, Patrese is 3rd, Prost is 2nd, and Nelson Piquet leads with Patrick Tambay in 6th position. And here they come out of Clearways, coming through to complete their 23rd lap. Patrese in 3rd place, Cheever behind him 4th, Mansell 5th, Patrick Tambay now in 6th position, and Manfred Winkelhock in 7th place. And they're a long, long way off from being lapped by Alain Prost, the race leader. As a matter of interest, the gap in time between the fastest turbo car in practice and the fastest Ford-powered DFV car was only 2 seconds, which is a lot less than it has been on most of the circuits in the latter half of this World Championship season. Nigel Mansell, there he is, and that is Patrese. 4 cars absolutely together in 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th places. And Nigel Mansell, his tyres obviously holding up well. Nigel, tremendously determined, gritty driver, who in the past has broken both his back and his neck and has yet come back into racing, into the position that he's in now. One of the world's top drivers. Out of Clearways to come through and complete their 24th lap. And very soon, in about 10 laps time, and that is only about 12 minutes or so, the pit stops will start with, we expect, Mauro Baldi, but we're also expecting Alain Prost to come in very early on lap 35. There we are, Prost on the 30th. This is what we've been told. It doesn't necessarily mean to say it's going to happen. John Watson, who is in 10th position, should be making the second pit stop, and then the Ferrari of René Arnoux, and as you see, Nelson Piquet, who is the top runner on that caption, is not coming in till last of all, which is following the pattern that Brabham usually do. Lap 44, Riccardo Patrese there, 3rd place, and they're coming up to the Kalamata Osella of Piercarlo Ghinzani to lap him, as you look at Patrick Tambay in 6th place. Now, is Ghinzani going to move over?
Well, this may be the chance that the others are looking for, because there's no doubt that Patrese is holding up that little queue that he's got behind him, and yet he's not holding them up enough that he's easy to pass. So they'll be well pleased if they can grab an opening.
They've got a good place to do it now, because they'll be on Ghinzani just as they come into paddock. And Patrese's passed him, Cheever's passed him, Mansell's passed him, Ghinzani's moved well over, and he allows Patrick Tambay to go through and Andrea De Cesaris to go through. Now look at the last of these cars. Andrea De Cesaris is closing up in the Alfa Romeo on Patrick Tambay, who is in 6th place.
Yes, very courteous drive that by Ghinzani. He spotted the fact there was a big battle coming up to lap him, and he moved right out of the way, which is should be a lesson to some other people when they're being lapped. There are plenty who don't do that.
And there's one in front of them right now. Is Raoul Boesel going to move over? His teammate Jarier, who hasn't set a very good example in the past, is out of the race, but Raoul Boesel is in it, and he's moved over. Patrese, Cheever and Mansell go through. Mansell is putting out a gap between himself and Tambay and De Cesaris in the Ferrari and the Alfa Romeo. As you look at the 3rd place man, Riccardo Patrese. Tambay is past Boesel, who, like Ghinzani, has moved over. And now we're coming through to complete the 26th lap. And there's somebody's engine going. I think it was De Cesaris. I saw a plume of smoke burst out from the back of the car, and we'll soon see. Patrese's through, Cheever, Mansell. I don't think, well, if it was De Cesaris, it was temporary, but we've seen this happen so many times in the past. The Alfa Romeo clear must have been Niki Lauda. There is the Austrian, the ex-world champion. His race is run. The third race he's driven the new tag turbo-powered McLaren in, and he, Niki Lauda, is out of it. And that is lap 27. So Jerier is out, De Angelis is out, and Lauda is out, and René Arnoux, having spun, is fighting his way up through the field and is currently in 17th place.
Well, that was an interesting battle of Italian power as they came down the long straight then. Tambay and the Ferrari holding off the Cesaris and his Alfa, both companies notorious for the huge power outputs they can achieve out of their engines. Neither quite so highly reputed for their ability to build good chassis. But there's no doubt about the power, and De Cesaris wasn't able, despite his perfect slipstreaming position, to get past Tambay. But he looks very quick and confident on the circuit at the moment, De Cesaris, and if he can dispose of this group, I would expect him to be able to move up and start catching the leading bunch.
Derek Warwick is in 9th place behind these two. John Watson is in 10th position. Kenny Rosberg is now the leading non-turbo car in 11th place ahead of Giacomelli, who is in 12th position. And this is really great stuff. Riccardo Patrese 3rd, Chiva 4th, Mansell 5th, Torbay 6th, and behind Patrick Torbay in the Ferrari is Andrea De Cesaris. And that's one of the Tyrrells gone. It is Danny Sullivan spinning off the circuit with the back of his car on fire, badly on fire, and he drives on. He doesn't realise it. Surely he must see in his mirrors that his car is on fire. You can see it flaming underneath the... and Danny Sullivan must get to a fire point quickly.
Yes, that's an oil fire. I think he must have blown an oil line off, which probably caused the spin. And bumped on the curb, sparked it, and away he goes. But anyway, he's clocked it and has gone to park.
And straight onto his car descend the ever-efficient members of the British Motor Racing Marshals Club with their fire extinguishers, and I hope they get them going quickly, having said that. And out of the car gets Danny Sullivan, off goes the fire extinguisher, and that is a very expensive motor car save for Ken Tyrrell, as Patrese, Piquet in the lead now. This is lap 29, and Piquet has got a commanding lead. He's now 1:15.026, which is still the fastest lap of the race. And that car's going to take a lot of cleaning up, but at least it is in one piece and safe. Patrese 3rd, Chiva 4th, Nigel Mansell number 12 in 5th position. Behind him in the Ferrari in 6th place, there he is, Patrick Torbay. De Cesaris is in 7th place. In 8th place is Manfred Winkelhock. Clearways, lap 30. Not so very far off half distance. And the question now is, can Piquet maintain the reliability of his Brabham BMW? I remember when we were watching the Italian Grand Prix, both James and I felt that Piquet's engine was giving trouble. In fact, all that had happened was that he had turned the turbo boost down, as a result of which the engine sounded rough, and it could well be, we'll be hearing it again.
Yes, and that was exactly the intelligent thing to do, but put less strain on his engine, control the race from the front, and that really is an example of just how intelligently Nelson Piquet has been driving.
Nelson Piquet coming up to lap one of the arrows, Marc Surer it was, as he goes through. Here's the charging Nelson Piquet, having completed 30 laps. He has got 14 laps to go before he comes in to make his pit stop. And I can tell you from our long experience from the past now, it's Thierry Boutsen actually that Nelson Piquet had passed. Piquet, lap 31.
So Nelson around about 12 or 13 seconds on Prost, which is a lead he's increasing very, very slightly. If you remember, Prost was held up quite badly by Riccardo Patrese, which pushed him back to something like 10 seconds. And so the two leading contenders for the championship are in combat out in front. There's a bit of a gap, but neither is making much impression on the other one.
Well, if Nelson Piquet finished the race where he is now in the lead and won it, therefore, that's Patrese third, Chiva fourth, he would have 55 points, and if Alain Prost finished second, he would have 57. Danny Sullivan is in the pits.
Danny Sullivan, you've given us certainly more excitement than we wanted this afternoon. What happened?
Well, the engine blew as I came by past the pits. Going through Paddock Bend, the oil dumped under the rear wheels. I spun, took off again, and the engine caught fire, and I got it back to the back of the pits, and they put it out.
Danny, how soon did you know it was on fire? It looked in our pictures as if you didn't know you were on fire.
I didn't until I started going up the hill to Druids, and coming out, I saw the flame again, and then that was... I knew I better stop soon, but I wanted to go to a marshal.
Yeah. And the marshals were very quick, weren't they, Danny?
Very good, very quick. They were waiting for me. I guess they knew I was coming.
Danny, thanks for talking to us. Glad you're in one piece.
Thank you very much.
Back to you. The British Motor Racing Marshals Club are famed for justifiably being the best in the world. They have specialised fire training, and my goodness, it's paid off today. And there is Patrick Tambay with Elio De Angelis right in his wheel tracks, and Elio De Angelis going through. No, Tambay holds him off. And it's still that third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh battle. Patrick Tambay in sixth place. De Cesare is pushing him hard in seventh place as Nigel Mansell goes ahead of them in fifth position. And there is the Ferrari coming towards us now with the Alfa Romeo. It's encouraging that Andrea De Cesare's car has lasted a lot longer in this race than it has lasted in recent races, because the Italian has gone out of so many of them. He actually led the Belgian Grand Prix, having taken pole position, but he's failed to finish in 10 out of the 13 races that he's driven in this year. Patrick Tambay 6th, De Cesaris 7th. Into Druids, Nelson Piquet is still up at the front. Alain Prost is still second. There is still the third man, Riccardo Patrese, who we heard from Elio De Angelis did that complete spin when De Angelis tried to take him. They made contact. De Angelis a little critical about Patrese's refusal to move over.
Yes, I don't know what contact they made, but since that incident and Patrese's recovery, he doesn't seem to be going quite as quickly. He was up front and pulling away and outpacing the others. They were pulling away from Piquet, who now leads. So I suspect he may have just bent his suspension a little bit and or damaged something on the car just to affect the handling. It's obviously small, but small things are pretty critical on these highly tuned machines.
Maybe flat spotted the tyres just a little, not completely obviously, as they would have been out of balance, but as James says, whatever it was has slowed Patrese up a bit. Piquet still leads, Prost second.
Yes, if he's flat spotted his tyres, he's not in for a happy afternoon, because Bрэnds-Hэтch is one of the hardest circuits physically on the calendar, but because it undulates, you get huge G-forces. You're being thrown around inside the car all the time, and if you flat spot the tyres, that is when you lock up the brakes and the wheels remain still. You go along the road and naturally you wear a flat spot on the tyre, and the car vibrates so badly sometimes. And Chiva,
John Watson in the pits, as you see, his teammate Niki Lauda out, and it looks as though it's just a routine pit stop from the way the mechanics' hands went up. There is Patrese, Chiva and Mansell, followed by Tambay and De Cesaris. No change for third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. No change for first, second, but any one of these first 7 drivers has only got to put a wheel out of line, and there will be a change.
Yes, just going back to what I was saying, flatted tyres can be rather like driving on a threepenny bit, and the vibration can be so bad that you actually get blurred vision, because your eyeballs vibrate out of sync with the rest of your skull.
Charming. Well, let's hope that that is not happening to Riccardo Patrese. If it is, he's doing extremely well in holding his third position ahead of Eddie Chiva. And on lap 35, the order is still Piquet, Prost, Patrese, Cheever. In 5th position, Nigel Mansell. 6th is Patrick Tambay. 7th, Elliot is the Cesaris. 8th is Winkelhock. 9th is Derek Warwick. And in 10th place, the leading non-turbo, Keke Rosberg, ahead of the 11th man, the second Tollman car, Bruno Giacomelli. So Tollman seemed to have found the reliability. Both Warwick and Giacomelli are running. The gap, as you see, between Piquet and Prost is 10.8 seconds, which means to say that Piquet is definitely controlling the race from the front.
Yes, but I would say he's not controlling it very comfortably, and I would suspect that he's right on the limit. Prost, without any doubt, will be going absolutely flat out, as we've seen, because he's driving magnificently using every inch of the road. But I would think that Piquet would like to build a bigger lead if he could, so I'm sure that he is on the limit as well. So it appears that the leading duo, although slightly separated by the 10-second gap, are absolutely locked in combat. There's very little to choose for them in pace.
René Arnoux has forced his way through up the field. He's in 14th position at the moment. We haven't seen him for a while, but René Arnoux is definitely charging into the pits now. There is Eddie Cheever, and he, I remind you, was in 4th position. He isn't anymore, of course. Nigel Mansell has moved up ahead of him, and out, that's a good stop. Just over 11 seconds, Eddie Cheever. 11.7 seconds, Eddie Cheever then. New tyres, new rubber, but Mansell is now right behind the 3rd place man, Riccardo Patrese. Now Patrick Tambay is 5th. Now Andrea De Cesaris is 6th. And the gap between Nelson Piquet, the race leader, and Alain Prost in 2nd place, who is coming through to complete a lap and has actually got John Watson in front of him as he goes round Paddock Bend, is just about 10.8 seconds as it was before. Riccardo Patrese 3rd now, Nigel Mansell 4th now, and Eddie Cheever, the first of the front runners to come in and complete his pit stop. There's the Ferrari signal to Patrick Tambay and to René Arnoux. And those, I think, are indicating when they should be coming in for their laps, because we're now on lap 37. And René Arnoux is due in. Yes, he's due in on lap 38. They gave him a 2 there. That may mean 2 more laps to go as you look at Derek Warwick chasing Manfred Winkelhock. There's John Watson, and right behind him is Alain Prost. Now, John Watson is in 10th position, and Alain Prost is in 2nd place. So Piquet has lapped everybody up to about 9th position, because now on lap 38, as Prost goes through and surges past John Watson, it is Piquet leading, Prost 2nd, Patrese 3rd, Mansell 4th, Tambay 5th, De Cesaris 6th, Winkelhock 7th, and in 8th position is Derek Warwick. And Arnoux is up into 12th position now. And Nigel Mansell is right up with Patrese. That's Patrese and Mansell in 3rd and 4th places, going up Halewood Hill into Druids. And Nigel, having got Eddie Cheever out of his sights, seems to have found a fresh lease of life now, because he's pushing, as you can well see, Riccardo Patrese very hard. And there's little doubt in my mind that Patrese is holding him up, because I noticed that Patrick Tambay is much closer to Nigel Mansell than he was. And of course, Tambay, who is in 5th position, has got Andrea De Cesaris right behind him.
Yes, Patrese is definitely causing a queue, but Mansell's having a little look there. The problem for Nigel and for the others is that Patrese is very quick down the main straight, and he doesn't seem to be, Mansell doesn't seem to be able to get any benefit from the tow behind the power of the BMW engine and the Brabham. So he's got to really use his thinking cap to try and either find a way past, or preferably create one by maybe doing a bit of feinting and trying to worry Patrese into some sort of error. But Patrese, as we've already heard from Elio De Angelis earlier, is not the easiest man in the world to pass, and he doesn't take kindly to being overtaken.
De Cesaris in the pits. This is a routine pit stop. Andrea De Cesaris in the Alfa Romeo. A good time is going to be 10 seconds or less, and it looks as though it is going to be a good one. No, it's not. 12.5 seconds for Andrea De Cesaris. So he's lost just about a second to Eddie Cheever, who took 11.7 seconds, and there's going to be a period of confusion now with René Arnoux in the pits. Now, René Arnoux, as I talked to you, was in 11th place. Now he's getting the fresh rubber, and probably they may take a chance and put him on a slightly softer compound than they would normally have done. And we can expect René Arnoux now to adopt that, as ever, distinctive posture of his, head well forward. That is Patrese in third position. Nigel Mansell behind him, still in fourth. And very soon we're expecting one of the Brabhams to come in, and it should be Riccardo Patrese, who is due to stop before Nelson Piquet, and it is. There is Riccardo Patrese, third position, coming into the pit. Start the stopwatch. The Brabham mechanics are usually the fastest of the lot. They thought of pit stops, indeed, or rather Gordon Murray did, and they have been superlatively well drilled. But this is a very bad stop for Riccardo Patrese. He's losing time all the time. The right rear wheel is giving trouble, as you can see. It's still off. And 20, this is absolutely disastrous for Riccardo Patrese and Brabham. And he's gone out. It looked to me as though he went out too soon. 25 seconds, 25.6 seconds is twice as long as the pit stop of Andrea De Cesaris, and it will have struck a mortal blow at Riccardo Patrese's chances. But there is Nigel Mansell, who therefore is in third position in the JPS Lotus, and that's Gordon Murray in the white shirt disappearing, and Derek Warwick with his turbo car flaming on the overrun, and things are really happening here.
Yes, what a disaster for Patrese, and what happens, it's not surprising to me that finally it appeared that a rear wheel jammed on, and that is, I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner. The problem is that on the hub and on the wheel and the splines and everything that it fits on, you have various different metal materials used, therefore they all have different rates of expansion, and it's not uncommon. And that's one of the Tolmans in the pits, Derek Warwick, getting a stop. We haven't seen the time, we don't see what time he arrived.
Derek Warwick in fifth position. Now, as we look at René Arnoux, it is Nelson Piquet who has yet to stop in the lead. Prost, who is second, has yet to stop. Nigel Mansell, who is third, has yet to stop, as has Patrick Tambay, who is fourth. Derek Warwick, who was fifth, has been into the pits, you've just seen him, and therefore will have slipped down a place or two. But up into sixth place now has come Keke Rosberg, which is sensational. And now here is Prost. This could be the most critical pit stop of the race. The World Championship leader, second in the European Grand Prix, stopping on lap 42, the end of lap 41. And it's not a terribly good stop, 13.94. I know that sounds ridiculous to say that 13.9 seconds to take on 25 gallons of fuel and change 4 tyres and wheels is not a very good stop. But these days, you have to be below 10 seconds to be praiseworthy. Indeed, this morning, the Lotus team did a stop, a practice one, admittedly without all the pressure of the race, in 7.8 seconds. And Nelson Piquet, the man you are looking at now, is leading. He is now on his 42nd lap, and he is due in on lap 44. As the lead there are the Lotus mechanics waiting for Nigel Mansell, who is in third position to come and make his pit stop. And I have no doubt that Gordon Murray, who you saw in the pits, was comparing notes with the mechanics to make sure that what happened to Patrese does not happen to the race leader Nelson Piquet. When he comes in, it is anticipated in 2 laps' time. And Nigel Mansell, that we are looking at now in third position with Patrick Tambay behind him in fourth place, is due to make his pit stop now. He's coming into clearways, the last right-hander at the end of the lap. If you see him start to slow and Tambay start to gain, Tambay is passed up into third place. Mansell is coming in. This could be the pit stop of the race, as could have been Alain Prost's. Alain Prost's time was 13.9. And look, you'll see that Nigel Mansell at the end, rear of his car, has got the distinctive cake rack wing. Oh, what a cracker! What a cracker! 9.6 seconds, by far the fastest.
Yes, and just a fantastic stop by the Lotus team. And as well as that, Mansell was absolutely ready. He had the rear wheels spinning virtually before it had hit the ground off the jack. Fantastic teamwork by the whole of the Lotus team.
Nigel Mansell must have adrenaline flowing by the pint, I should think, because he was in third position on the grid when he started this race. He's now got the power, and that is Eddie Cheever. No, I was going to say Eddie Cheever, who was in sixth position, taking Nigel Mansell, but Nigel will have nothing of it. Don't forget he's on cold tyres.
Yes, he needs to hold him down this straight and hold him into Hawthorns. If he can do that, his tyres will be warm by the time they emerge. He got the feel of the car, and that was very, very critical indeed. Cheever having another look, but I fear it's too late to grab the advantage that Cheever had of having Mansell in front of him on cold tyres. He's warmed him up and he's off and running.
Tambay in the pits. Got the watch running. He was in second place when he came in with all the ins and outs from the pits. So Patrick Tambay ahead of his teammate René Arnoux, and out he goes in 12 seconds. Well, Nigel Mansell still by far the fastest. No, Eddie Cheever second fastest. Nigel Mansell's pit stop 2 seconds faster than anybody else, and there he is maintaining his advantage over Eddie Cheever, who of course has made his pit stop. And into the pits comes the race leader, Nelson Piquet. Now don't forget that Riccardo Patrese had trouble. The fastest one we've had, 9.6 seconds. The right front, the left rear. It's happening again. The spanner, they're having trouble with the spanner.
Yeah, with the left rear wheel gun, they had a big trouble, and this is going to open the World Championship right up, because Piquet should now be very close to Prost once he gets settled onto the circuit.
He leaps out of the pits quite literally, and there, going round behind him, is Thierry Boutsen. Thierry Boutsen in the second of the two arrows, trying to take Nelson Piquet as they go up the Hellwood Hill ascent. And Piquet on his way. Well, Piquet has maintained his lead, of course, because Alain Prost with 13.9 seconds is still behind him, but the difference in time between Prost's pit stop and Piquet's was nearly 6 seconds to Prost's advantage. So Piquet, and there is Keke Rosberg apparently coming in. Yeah, Keke Rosberg looks as though he's very much out of the race, driving his last Grand Prix powered by a Ford Cosworth engine, and that's a very sad finish for both the engine and for Rosberg. And there is the second place man, Alain Prost, on lap 45, as we look at the distinctive and very famous rear sight of the Tag Williams, which from now on is going to be propelled by a V6 turbocharged Honda engine. And the positions on lap 45 are that Nelson Piquet leads Alain Prost with Patrick Tambay in third position. There is Jonathan Palmer. This is the first time we've seen him. This is the Formula 2 champion, Keke Rosberg there, the reigning world champion, but not for much longer. And Jonathan Palmer, the reigning Formula 2 champion of 1983, driving his first ever Grand Prix, is in 17th place, has been lapped.
I really don't know why Rosberg parked his car in the middle of the road. It would have seemed not very difficult just to have let it freewheel onto the grass. Seems rather silly, that.
Cheever. Why is Cheever stopped? Cheever has already had his tyres changed, and he was in 5th position, and he's obviously extremely agitated about something. I think his visor's broken. The right holding screw of his visor is broken, and they're going to tape it up for him. Well, this is making the race history, and obviously they're very rattled. You don't train for this sort of thing. Get on with it, says Cheever. And out of the pits he drives. And obviously, his dander is well and truly up. Eddie Cheever then has lost several places to Andrea de Cesaris and to Derek Warwick, almost certainly, which means to say that Derek Warwick will be up into 7th position. 6th position. Derek Warwick is now 6th. There is Nigel Mansell, who is 4th. He's got rid of the Cheever menace, but he's got behind him now Andrea de Cesaris, as we look at Riccardo Patrese, who is in 8th place after that disastrous pit stop of his. Now let us draw breath gently and work out who is where. On lap 47, Nelson Piquet is of course leading, and there he is. Alain Prost is 2nd in the Renault. So 2 of the 3 top men in the World Championship are in 1st and 2nd places. Patrick Tambay is 3rd. Nigel Mansell, as you see, is in 4th position ahead of de Cesaris. And Derek Warwick, who has scored points in the last 2 Grand Prix in Holland and in Italy, is on his way to scoring again here at Bрэnds-Hэтch in the Grand Prix of Europe. And Derek Warwick's future is in the balance too. Several Grand Prix teams want him, including Toleman, who are very anxious to retain his services for 1984. And he's a very much sought-after driver. Lap 48 now. Piquet, not a man who's easily rattled these days, and of course he is in his 78th Grand Prix. There is the battle between Mansell and de Cesaris for 4th position. Ten seconds is the gap between Nelson Piquet and Alain Prost after the pit stop, and de Cesaris is starting to force Nigel Mansell very hard indeed. He's caught up a lot of ground, and he's going to try and take Mansell as they go into Paddock Bend.
Yes, he's really been storming de Cesaris. He was before his pit stop. He then had to relinquish the battle that he was in. Now's Mansell taking the inside line, keeping his rear covered.
Where, you may be asking yourselves, is René Arnoux after all this? The answer is that he is in 10th position, but he's a minute behind Piquet. He's pretty close to Manfred Winkelhock, who is 9th. He's only 3 seconds behind him, and I wouldn't be at all surprised at the end of this race, which has still got 28 laps to run, to find that René Arnoux once again has worked that French magic of his and got himself up into a World Championship point scoring situation. But this is the battle between Nigel Mansell and Andrea de Cesaris for 4th position. It's the only real fight on the circuit at the present moment, because Piquet is on his own for the lead, Prost is on his own for 2nd place, Tambay is on his own for 3rd place, but 4th place is being very strongly contested, with the gap between Piquet and Prost just about 11 seconds between Nigel Mansell and Andrea de Cesaris. Over the line goes Mansell, over the line goes de Cesaris. The gap is now 0.9 seconds. Mansell is pulling away. De Cesaris's charge seems to have slowed temporarily. He made a bit of a mistake. He closes up, of course, as they go up to the top of different Druids on different braking points. And good news is that the next car you see is Derek Warwick. Look at that. Derek Warwick, who is in 6th position. This very, very gritty Hampshireman from 4 marks is in 6th position and catching Andrea de Cesaris 5th. Nigel Mansell 4th. And do you remember in Holland, Nigel Mansell went off at Tarzan Bend just as Derek Warwick came through, and thus enabled Derek Warwick to get that 4th place in Holland, which gave him his first World Championship points. Derek really got his head down now. He was here last weekend at Bрэnd's and drove a truly brilliant race when, with John Fitzpatrick, he won the Bрэnds-Hэтch 1,000 kilometre long distance race in a Porsche 956. So Derek really must know Bрэnds-Hэтch like the back of his hand, with these 2 weekends of driving and the Grand Prix practice in between. So Mansell there, 4th position. There is de Cesaris in 5th place, rounding Druids, the slowest corner on the course, and that is Derek Warwick exiting it in 6th position. Watch the gap, and that's Andrew. It's Keke Rosberg walking in. I thought from the haircut for a moment that it was Andrew de Cesaris, but it clearly wasn't, because he's battering away there, sandwiched between Derek Warwick and Nigel Mansell. There he is, in fact, and this is lap 50 in this 72-lap race. You can be quite sure that James and I are listening very carefully to Mr. Nelson Piquet's engine as he goes past all the time, because we're wondering whether he's got the boost turned down, which is most unlikely, knowing that Prost is only 10 seconds behind him.
Yes, I doubt it yet. I think with a 10-second lead, he may, if he's being very clever, have just turned it down a tiny bit to find out where he can drive still on the limit through the corners, because that is less likely to cause a breakdown or anything like that than keeping the engine turned up at full power. And he may have turned it down a little bit, but nothing like he did at Monza, where he turned it right down in the second half of the race and was almost running a sort of 1.5 litre normally aspirated engine.
Out of the European Grand Prix already have gone Jean-Pierre Jarier on lap 1, Elio De Angelis on lap 2, Niki Lauda's out, Sullivan's out, Keke Rosberg is out, but there are still a large number in the race, and this one in particular, Nigel Mansell, is in 4th position. Reliability, I say again, is the name of the game in the European Grand Prix. Piquet's got to keep that Brabham BMW running. Prost has got to keep it running. Prost must finish in the points to be sure that he's going to be in the striking position if the World Championship goes on to the South African Grand Prix at Kyalami, which is the last Grand Prix of the year, the 15th, and it looks as though it's going to be a mighty close run thing if Nelson Piquet can keep going and get his 3rd win of the year, his 2nd in succession, having won at Brazil and the last Grand Prix at Italy. Meantime, here, Nigel Mansell on lap 52, finished 4th in the British Grand Prix. That's Nelson Piquet on his 52nd lap, so he's still got, in this 76-lap race, another 24 laps to go. Nelson Piquet, the Brazilian, from Brasilia, although at the moment he lives in Monte Carlo. Place 1 is the signal that he's getting. Prost behind you, Nelson Piquet. And Nelson, notwithstanding the fact that he will have gone past the pits at about 160 miles an hour before he eased off for Paddock Hill Bend, will have absorbed all that information, and his race-trained brain will know exactly how to process it. There into the pits comes Mark Surer in the Arrows, the Swiss driver, another vastly underestimated driver, who, if the Arrows team get the BMW turbo engines that they are negotiating for next year, will be able to show us what he's really made of, because he will then have enough power to exploit his very considerable talent as Piquet rides the curve there. Now that may have been just a momentary misjudgment. He may be pressing himself very, very hard indeed, or his tyres may be going off. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into one single little incident. But anyway, Nelson Piquet on lap 53 now. Where is Alain Prost? The answer is about 12 seconds behind him. There is Prost. And in case you're losing touch with the positions, they are that on lap 54 now. Nelson Piquet leads. Alain Prost has gone through into his 54th lap in 2nd position, and you're looking at the World Championship leader now, Alain Prost, 4 times a Grand Prix winner in 1983, desperately wants to be the first ever French World Champion, believe it or not, since the World Championship started in 1950, and the first one was won by Giuseppe Farina. No Frenchman has ever been a world champion. Prost naturally wants to be the first. So does Patrick Tambay, who is in 3rd place, you will note, in the race ahead of Nigel Mansell. Andrea de Cesaris 5th, Derek Warwick still 6th, and you can see that between Mansell in 4th place and Warwick in 6th position, there is only some 2.5 seconds. So there could be a considerable change in the second 3 places on the leaderboard before the end of this race. Cross now catching Cheever, a very irritated Eddie Cheever, no doubt, who has seen his chance of finishing in the points disappear, thanks to, of all things, a broken nylon screw from the visor holding it to his helmet. And infuriate, there's Bernie Ecclestone, the man who owns the Brabham team and who is the president or chairman or whatever the title is of the Formula One Constructors Association, an enormously powerful man in motor racing. And there's his second runner, Riccardo Patrese, in 8th position. And there is Bernie Ecclestone's #1 man, the world champion of 1981, Nelson Piquet, who, with the Brabham team, spent the whole of last year patiently developing their new BMW turbo engine.
Yes, I was just having a quick look at Nelson Piquet's tyres then, because a glance at Patrese's rather looked as if his left rear was blistered. But Piquet's look entirely healthy and everything looks very much under control for him at the moment. I'm sure it is, but of course, little things can go wrong in motor racing beyond one's control. But certainly Piquet is experienced enough now and was never one to make silly mistakes or anything like that. So he's really got it wrapped up. Prost in 2nd place is making no impression, in fact is falling back a little bit, so Piquet is just making his lead a bit comfortable. He's comfortably ahead of Patrick Tambay, but Nigel Mansell is within striking distance, as therefore are De Cesaris and Derek Warwick, who are all together, and they are within striking distance of Patrick Tambay.
And you see the 3 of them there, or you will do in a moment, because there is Nigel Mansell, there is Andrew De Cesaris, and that is Derek Warwick. And Derek Warwick is definitely catching De Cesaris, notwithstanding the fact that the hard-up and electronic engine management system for his turbo car. But you can see that Derek Warwick, there he is, accelerating away down Graham Hill into the Brabham Straight, which goes up to the left-hander at Surtees, is most definitely gaining on Andrea De Cesaris. And at the moment it looks as though Andrea De Cesaris's unreliability bogey, which has taken him out of... The fire extinguisher's gone off in Warwick's car. The fire extinguisher has blown. He will be freezing cold. His visor will be misted up. Derek Warwick's fire extinguisher. Now, this is a dreadful thing to happen, because the fire extinguisher is icy cold and his legs will be frozen. He must be out of the race soon.
Yeah, well, the worst thing is he can't see where he's going, because you can bear that, but they only last for a minute or so, or rather less, and it looks as if it's just about run out of its juice. You see he's wobbling around, he can't really see where he is, but if he just perseveres for a moment, the fire extinguisher, dear oh dear, it's going on and on. It's obviously a long life fire extinguisher. But, well, Derek knows, he realises that it will run out of juice in a moment, it'll empty the bottle, and then he can persist, because the fact of the matter is that whilst it's obviously nice to have your onboard fire extinguisher working, it's not essential. And
I think Derek would rather be without it now. I mean, one of the McLaren fire extinguishers went off accidentally in the pits this week, and I put my hand in the frost that was generated, and I couldn't hold it there more than a few seconds. So what Derek Warwick must be like in that heavy Nomex outfit of his, I can't imagine, but it really does look as though it's stopped now. Let us hope that there are no fumes associated with the fire extinguisher. No,
that means plenty of fresh air. As you rightly say, if the jet's coming out down his leg or something, he could get a burn, oddly enough, because it actually is dry ice. It's coming out very cold, but it has the effect of burning your skin. But he won't be worrying about that. There's plenty of agony in a racing car beyond a little burn like that. He'll be just happy that he can see where he's going again.
Derek Warwick, of course, has got Bruno Giacomelli behind him in 7th place, and that's his teammate, and Warwick is still in the points after all the agony and fury that he must have suffered in 6th position, but of course it's enabled Andrea de Cesaris to get well away. And I'll tell you the gap between Andrea de Cesaris and the man you're looking at, Nigel Mansell, because I've started my stopwatch on de Cesaris, who is in 5th place, and the answer is 8.8 seconds. So that unfortunate, to put it very mildly indeed, happening has cost Derek Warwick 9 seconds and possibly 5th place. And after 57 laps, it's still Piquet leading in the Brabham BMW, Prost second in the Renault, Tournbé third in the Ferrari, Mansell fourth in the JPS Lotus, and behind Nigel Mansell, Andrea de Cesaris and Derek Warwick, 5th and 6th. Warwick is still in the points, Nigel Mansell is in the points, 2 British drivers in the top 6, and it's a long time since we've had that happen, as we look at Riccardo Patrese, who is now in 8th position, followed by Raoul Bursell, who's been lapped twice and is in 17th place. Lap 59 out of 76. Nelson Piquet, the leader, number 5, must just keep pacing himself. 12.7 seconds. It was 14, so Prost has taken something out of Nelson Piquet's lead, but not enough to worry the Brazilian, provided it has happened because Nelson is controlling things and not because his tyres are going off or anything like that. René Arnoux, 13th position, 1 lap behind. René Arnoux has been lapped. That is his teammate Patrick Tournbé, 3rd position, on his way, if he stays where he is, to 4 points to add to the 40 that he already has. He's in 4th place in the World Championship. He would stay in 4th position, but would be out of contention for the World Championship, provided the drivers in front of him finish where they are now. Just 1 Grand Prix left. The South African Grand Prix at Kyalami. And Patrick Tournbé, who's had a patchy season. He won in San Marino and made himself the hero of Italy because he did it carrying that number 27, which was the number of the late, much beloved Gilles Villeneuve. And it happened, Patrick Tournbé's win in Italy, at a place where Ferrari is almost a religion. He's had 2 second places, he's had 2 third places, he's had 3 fourth positions and a 5th.
Well, Tournbé very much on the limit, had a little bit of a moment then through the left-hander, and as well he should be, because Nigel Mansell is still 5 or 6 seconds behind him. The gap's not changing much, but Nigel is obviously giving it everything he's got, and so they're very much locked in combat. Tournbé will be well aware of Mansell's presence, be kept informed by the pits, and may even just be able to see him in the mirror on the long straight. And of course Mansell has everything to go for, because he's got de Cesaris equidistant behind him, and holding that we will see de Cesaris come through. Now he's dropped back a little bit. We just saw him come into picture as we changed it.
Now, an interesting technical point in this race is that the enormous rear wing, which was pioneered by Ferrari, which I've called a dredger bucket in the past, and you see Patrick Tournbé coming up to take druids now. Look at that enormous rear wing of his, has been adopted not only by ATS, who've used it for several races in the past, but also by the McLaren team, and notably by the Brabham team. And for the first race ever, both Nelson Piquet and Riccardo Patrese have got these massive new rear wings on to maximise the downforce.
Yes, that's right. At Brands-Hatch, straight line speed is of no real consequence. It's nearly all corner, and grip is everything. So basically the teams are just whacking on as much downforce as they can possibly get.
And that is Patrick Tournbé exploiting that downforce, chasing Roberto Guerrero, the Colombian driver, around whom a lot of rumours are raging here at Brands-Hatch about the teams he might be driving for next year. Anyway, he's in 14th position now in his Theodore car, and regrettably it seems certain that the Theodore team won't be able to afford to continue Grand Prix racing in 1984. Patrick Tournbé surges past the Ford DFE powered car of the Colombian, showing what an enormous power advantage the Ferrari has got. And we are now on lap 62 with Nelson Piquet still leading, now some just about 11.5 seconds ahead of Alain Prost, and you've seen Patrick Tambay in third position. There is Piquet, the race leader. Mansell is still fourth, very close to Tambay, but not showing any real signs of getting close enough to pass him. De Cesaris is in the same situation with Mansell as Mansell is with Tambay, and De Cesaris is in fifth position. Sixth is Warwick, and seventh is Giacomelli. Eighth is Riccardo Patrese. Ninth is Manfred Winkelhock, who is the last driver not to have been lapped, because Eddie Cheever, as we look at Manfred Winkelhock in ninth position, Eddie Cheever in 10th position in the second Renault has been lapped, as of course has Arnoux, who is 11th, Alboreto 12th, Boutsen is 13th, Guerrero is 14th, and Jonathan Palmer is still running well, has only been lapped once, and he is in 15th place in his first Grand Prix, having qualified in, there he is, there is the Formula 2 champion of 1983, driving his Rolls Honda, and he's won 6 races in succession at the tail end of the Formula 2 championship. And there is Manfred Winkelhock, 9th position, and Piquet coming up to soon take Manfred Winkelhock and then close up on his teammate Riccardo Patrese, and if he does that, with Piquet having passed Jonathan Palmer in the Tag Williams, if Piquet catches Patrese, it's going to be more than interesting to see whether Patrese just gives way, knowing that Piquet is no threat to his position, or whether he decides that he's going to keep the Brazilian back for old time's sake. If he does that, of course, Prost will be able to gain on the race leader that you're looking at.
And Nigel Mansell now stands a very real chance of being able to take third place. He's very much in striking distance of Patrick Tambay, and is in fact about to challenge him. He's about 2 seconds behind him.
There goes Piquet rounding Surtees, so in about 15 seconds time Tambay and Mansell will be there as Piquet accelerates away. His tyres looking good. There is Mansell. Now let us observe where Patrick Tambay, who is in third position, is in relation to Nigel Mansell. That is your answer. Tambay is just about the short length of the Brabham Straight as they go into Pilgrim's Drop, 4th gear, up into 5th, up to the fastest part of the course, which is about 165 miles an hour, with 1.8 seconds between them.
Yes, and Mansell definitely catching. Problem, of course, is once he's caught and got onto Tambay's tail, will he be able to pass? The Ferrari, notorious for its huge power output, and of course Tambay may feel towards the end of the race he can turn his boost up a little bit, because this is adjustable in most of the turbo-powered cars. The drivers have the option of being able to fiddle with the boost pressure that they have.
I wonder how poor Derek Warwick's feeling now, because he will have lost a lot of the feeling in his legs after that icy blast was on them for over a minute. He's probably only getting the circulation back again to enable him to operate the pedals to maximum efficiency. Tambay and Mansell, 3rd and 4th on their 65th lap, 76 lap race, and as you can well see, Nigel Mansell, driving superbly, is reeling in the Ferrari of Patrick Tambay. And although he must have a power disadvantage, it's less than he would have had in the past, because he's now got the V6 turbocharged Renault behind him.
Well, he's come out, he got out of that very quickly and efficiently, and he's perfectly placed in Tambay's slipstream. Now, will Tambay take the inside line? He is, and no space this time for Mansell, but he's now going to be climbing all around the back of the Ferrari.
And this is the race of the race at the moment. Piquet on his own, 10 seconds ahead of Alain Prost on his own in second place. And this is the battle for third between Patrick Tambay in the Ferrari, 4th in the World Championship, and Nigel Mansell in the JPS Lotus, who has only scored 6 points in the World Championship so far, 11th equal in position. But He's on his way now to another third place. Is he? Nigel Mansell's going through, and he's passed Nigel Mansell as they go into Paddock Bend at the end of the 65th lap. Moves ahead of Patrick Tambay, who fights back as they go into Druids, and he locks up his right front, does Tambay. That may well have flat spotted him.
Yes, I doubt that much. Terrific reaction from the British crowd. They're very excited about that, and Tambay went wide around Druids onto the slippery stuff. Lost enough time now for Mansell just to put his head down, drive his own race and get away. He was catching Tambay, is quicker than him, and he got him beautifully through clearways.
Fairly streaking away from Tambay now, who's probably lost his race rhythm momentarily, and Nigel Mansell's really exploiting that situation, and he's got several car lengths between himself and the Ferrari. On his way now to the third place of his career, Nigel Mansell, as he comes up to one of the Tyrrells.
Right, and here we see the manoeuvre again. But Nigel really set this up with his performance through clearways. He was way quicker than Tambay through clearways, gave him the momentum. He's passed him almost before the braking area. Here we go into Paddock Bend, pushing Patrick out wide. He's got the corner now completely controlled. He holds it in tight so that Tambay can't come back at him at the inside, you see. Forces him to go the long way around. And Tambay, a little bit frenzied going into Druids, locks up his inside front as he starts turning, goes out into the slippery stuff, and Mansell's got his breathing space and he's off and running in now what should be a fairly easy third place to defend.
Alboreto into the pits, and a supremely confident Nigel Mansell up into third position, and Alboreto's clearly out of the race because I saw the elbows come out of the car to lever himself out of the monocoque. His race is run, as is his teammate Danny Sullivan, and so now on the 67th lap out of 76, Piquet leads Prost. The World Championship leader, Alain Prost. Nigel Mansell up into third place ahead of the new fourth place man, Patrick Tambay. Andrea De Cesare is still in fifth position, and he's now 7 seconds ahead of Derek Warwick, who is the last World Championship point scorer at the moment, in sixth position. Giacomelli, his teammate, 7th. Patrese, 8th. Winkelhock, 9th. Chiva, 10th. Arnoux, 11th. Boutsen, 12th. Guerrero is 13th. And those are the men who have been lapped once. Alboreto out of the race had been lapped twice. Jonathan Palmer is now 14th, has been lapped twice. Stefan Johansson in the Spirit Honda is 15th. And Raul Boesel is another lap adrift and virtually out of the race. And now De Cesaris, who is in fifth position, is catching Tambay, and off goes the Ferrari and slams into the tyre barrier at Druids. So Tambay's chance of doing anything in the World Championship, which was virtually nil before, is absolutely zero now, because out of the European Grand Prix on lap 68 goes the Ferrari, and Tambay is completely unhurt.
Yes, well, has to suspect, we see it again now here, we had to suspect that Tambay's got some sort of a brake problem. He seems to be locking the right front, and the others don't seem to be doing much, because he didn't brake particularly late then, and I would think, and it's not like Patrick to make a mistake like that, especially when he's had a warning a couple of laps before. I would think there was some problem with his brakes. Anyway, he skates into the wall fairly gently and elegantly, and look at the strength of that. The nose of the Ferrari took pretty well all the damage, and he's hopped out unhurt, thankfully.
Yes, even the front suspension looks undamaged. It's a tribute to the designers of today that they can build cars like that drivers can get straight out of, and it's also a testimony to the wisdom of having those absorbent tyre barriers between the course and the very solid arm curve. And that means, of course, that Andrea De Cesaris moves up to fourth place, that Derek Warwick moves up to fifth place, that Bruno Giacomelli moves up to sixth position, and so for the first time in the 3-year history of the long-struggling, very deserved Toleman team, both their cars are in the World Championship points on lap 69 in this 76-lap race, and it looks as though Giacomelli is going to be back in the points again for the first time for a very, very long time, because Giacomelli, like many drivers, has been plagued with unreliability this season, and that is Nigel Mansell lapping Stefan Johansson in the Spirit Honda, who is now in 15th position. Nigel Mansell third, on his way to his third place of his career.
Well, Frank Williams will be pleased to see the Spirit Honda still running, the engine still going strong as he starts his career with Honda at the South African Grand Prix.
Yes, they had one or two problems, the Spirit Honda team in practice, but unlike the Italian Grand Prix, they blew no engines, and it looks as though Stefan Johansson is on his way to yet another finish, having finished in Austria and in Holland. And that is Nelson Piquet, who's on his way down to Dingle. He is now on his 71st lap out of 76. And although I hesitate to say it, only the cruelest misfortune can rob Nelson Piquet, as I have said, a supremely confident Nelson Piquet, who is relaxed and very happy about everything that's been happening to him in racing recently, on his way to a third win of 1983, and that was Eddie Cheever in the Renault. And Cheever, of course, has been lapped because of that visor problem of his. He's in 10th position. Now, the gap between Piquet, the race leader, and Prost here in second place with, there you can see it for yourself, is 8.2 seconds. So Prost is gaining, but I have little doubt in my mind that he's gaining because the Brabham signals are telling Nelson Piquet exactly what the situation is. And as I said before, Nelson Piquet's race-trained brain will be making him and the car react accordingly. And he's just pacing himself to the end of the race as we look at René Arnoux, who of course has gained another place, although he has been lapped, and he's in 11th position at the moment. Cheever and Alain Prost in second place. 70 laps completed. They're on their 71st. It is a 76-lap race. And although Prost looks like losing victory to Nelson Piquet, with Nigel Mansell there still in third position, there's Gordon Murray on the right in the white shirt with the longish hair. That is the inspiration of the Brabham team. I think the most brilliant designer of them all, and there's a lot of brilliant ones. Gordon Murray has led all sorts of Formula One Grand Prix revolutions. He designed the fan car that Niki Lauda won the Swedish Grand Prix in before it was banned. Gordon Murray was responsible for the suspension innovations which beat the skirts ban. Gordon Murray was responsible for this dart-shaped Brabham BMW car in which Nelson Piquet looks like winning the European Grand Prix here at Bрэnds-Hэтch today, the 14th out of 15 World Championship events of 1983, and his third win of the year. He won the first in Brazil, and then Nelson Piquet went on and he got 3 second places in France, in Monaco, in Great Britain. Of course, he won in Italy. He got a third place in Austria and 2 fourths in Belgium and Detroit. And although he's had 5 non-finishes, none of them were really his fault. For instance, in Holland, he was pushed off by Alain Prost. In Germany, his car caught fire. At Long Beach, he had a puncture. No, Long Beach, he had an engine problem, and then he had a puncture. So Nelson Piquet can look at himself in the mirror and say that he has driven an absolutely immaculate 1983 season. Well, what's the position on the World Championship if the race goes on as it is now? Well, the answer is that if they finish in the positions that they're in now, we would go to Kyalami in South Africa in the incredible situation of Alain Prost still leading the World Championship with 57 points. But now he would not be 2 points ahead of René Arnoux as he was when today's race began, but 2 points ahead of Nelson Piquet. And René Arnoux would still be in contention on 49 points. So we would have a reproduction at Kyalami of the situation that we had here at Bрэnds-Hэтch when this race began, but only 3 drivers would have a chance of winning the World Championship: Prost, Piquet and Arnoux, because as we have seen, Patrick Tambay is now out of the running for the World Championship. He had a remote chance of being World Champion at the beginning of today's race, and there is the current World Championship leader, Alain Prost, with the sun beginning to make the circuit look very scratchy indeed. Alain Prost, the little Frenchman who has been successful in kart racing, was the European Formula 3 champion. And hello, Alain Prost has got René Arnoux behind him now. I'm sorry, Alain Prost is in front. There's Prost. Behind Prost is Cheever. Behind Cheever is Arnoux. So I wonder if René Arnoux can see his rival, his deadly rival, Alain Prost, ahead of Cheever, and is trying to set about him. Well, Arnoux will be trying as hard as he possibly can, you can be sure of that. We are on lap 74 in this 76-lap race, with Nelson Piquet now leading Alain Prost by a whisker over 8 seconds. Mansell is still third, a long way behind, about 24 seconds behind Alain Prost, behind the leader. De Cesaris is 3 seconds behind Mansell. De Cesaris 4th. Warwick is 5 seconds in 5th place behind De Cesaris. Giacomelli is 9 seconds behind Warwick in 6th position. And I say again that both the Tolmans are in World Championship point scoring positions. Now, where is René Arnoux in relation to Eddie Cheever? There, he's past Cheever. Now, René Arnoux, who is in 10th position, 1 lap behind the leaders, has got past the Renault of Eddie Cheever, who may well be having visor trouble still, because they only slapped a piece of tape on it to keep it in position, and it's miraculous that it stayed there. And we are now on lap 75, the last lap but one. Nelson Piquet is well and truly on his way to his 3rd win of the year, his 2nd win in succession, to bring him to only 2 points behind the World Championship leader Alain Prost. Here he is coming into clearways to complete his 75th lap, to start his 76th and last lap, and he has driven, James, in my opinion, a copybook race.
Yes, he's just a wonderful driver, Piquet. He's, as you said earlier several times, he's relaxed, he's calm, he makes no mistakes, and he's, above all, he's quick. And it's a very fitting finish in the championship, because it doesn't always work like this, because almost the same can be said of Alain Prost. He made a glaring mistake at Zandvoort, which cost him possibly the chance of wrapping up the championship already, and but that was, quite frankly, his only glaring mistake, and everybody's allowed 1 a year, and it was most out of character for him. And he also is mature, fast, and a thinking driver. It's interesting to note that these Alain Prost is nicknamed the Professor in his Renault team, because of the thought he puts into everything, and they're both very intelligent, thinking drivers, and I think that has showed in the way they've put their seasons together. Consistency and speed are essential.
Nelson Sotomayor, because that is his real name. Piquet was his mother's maiden name, which he used in his early days of racing to prevent his parents from knowing that he was doing so. Nelson Piquet Sotomayor, whichever you like to call him, is out of the last corner on the last lap, and he takes the checkered flag to win his 3rd Grand Prix of 1983, the critical, the crucial Grand Prix of Europe. He shows his exultation as he does so, because he is now within striking distance of Alain Prost, the World Championship leader, who is coming through in a few moments to complete his race and take 2nd place with Nigel Mansell in the black and gold JPS Lotus, and there are his mechanics ready to cheer him home, and they do so. So, Nelson Piquet wins. In 2nd place, Alain Prost. In 3rd position, Nigel Mansell.
And apart from this wonderful day that we've had here at Bрэnds-Hэтch with a marvellous race, I would like to say one thing that I'm very proud to be doing for the BBC, because that is the best coverage and the best pictures that I've ever seen of a Grand Prix.
And so say all of us. Piquet, the winner, there he is, and a very happy Nelson Piquet inside that helmet of his. He seems to be and is a very serious man. When his face smiles, he lights up, and that Brazilian bubbling personality of his comes out. And he's now won an absolutely superb race. No words of mine can possibly express how superb Piquet's drive was. That, by the way, gives you a good look at that big rear wing on the Brabham that I was talking about. But Alain Prost, too, deserves a great deal of praise. He has almost beaten the Renault bogey of not doing well, which means a win at Bрэnds-Hэтch, by finishing in that superb second place. He said before this race began, being in the lead in the World Championship was all important to him. He is still in the lead in the World Championship, because subject to unofficial confirmation, with Piquet having won for 9 points, Prost second for 6 points, Mansell third for 4 points, De Cesaris fourth for 3 points, Warwick fifth for 2 points, and Giacomelli sixth for 1 point, which means that the Tolmans did both get home. It means that Prost leads the World Championship by 2 points on 57 from Nelson Piquet. Third, René Arnoux. Fourth, Patrick Tambay. Fifth, Keke Rosberg. And sixth, John Watson. And the Grand Prix climax happens at Kyalami in South Africa, with a battle between Alain Prost, Nelson Piquet and René Arnoux to decide who is going to be the world champion. It means to say that one of the 3 Frenchmen who could have been the first Frenchman to be world champion, Patrick Tambay, is now out of contention, but that still leaves those 2 rivals, Alain Prost and René Arnoux, first and third in the championship respectively in their Renault and Ferrari cars, and that man, Nelson Piquet, to fight for the supreme honour of 1983. And it means to say that 3 different makes of cars are in contention for providing the power and the performance for the drivers' world champion, Ferrari, Brabham and Renault. It means too, of course, that Renault, I think I'm trying to do some quick mathematics, cannot possibly beat Ferrari for the Constructors' World Championship of 1983. So Alain Prost is the first, it seems, to congratulate Nelson Piquet. He already has his helmet off and is taking a drink of mineral water. On the left is Riccardo Patrese, but inside the red and white helmet, and I don't know why he hasn't taken it off yet, it must be jolly hot inside there, Nelson Piquet, off comes the Nomex balaclava, revealing that Brazilian smile, and doing the first thing that any racing driver does after a Grand Prix these days, taking a drink, because the liquid loss is absolutely tremendous these days. You can lose about half a stone, but Nelson Piquet is on his way to the victory rostrum. And a very delighted Peter Waugh, the team manager of the John Player Special Lotus team, is with Barry Gill.
Peter Waugh, for a while it looked he's going to win the race, and then Nigel surely drove the race of his life. How do you feel?
Yes, I'm very, very happy, thanks, Barry. Third place was a just reward for a super drive by Nigel. I'm very disappointed for Elio, of course, because I really thought we could have won it, but that's the way it is, and I'm very happy with the third place.
A unique innovation here. Of course, everybody was watching this battle on a big screen. Were you aware of the crowd's reaction?
Well, no, I was keeping the lap chart, and I didn't have time to watch it on the screen, I'm afraid, but I was very pleased to see him come round in front of the other car.
Engine's about to start.